Hello, welcome to the 20th day of November 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video diary exercise that I do each and every morning at 5:30 a.m. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about yesterday and how I did with the particular challenges and opportunities that I met that where I did either very well or very poorly, because those are the areas where I can learn. I also think about my creed, remembering the 8 objectives and one of the principles. I prepare for the coming day. But first, a huge thank you to my YouTube supporters, my members on YouTube, and my Patreon supporters. I really do appreciate your support. This is a journal video, so as such, it's private, but I do it publicly. So you can read, you can watch, and leave comments and criticisms as you see fit, and I'll read and respond to those at the end. I also do talk about sensitive subjects like death reliably pretty much every day, so be forewarned. Let's get started. Looking at my notes, I see that for yesterday, there's just two notes here. One says a solid day, and the other one says reduced jingling in my uh, pockets. The, so, solid day simply means it was a very solid day of activity yesterday. The first day on the other side of getting the check on its way to deposit in my bank in the United States, which will secure my wife and I for the remainder of our run until Social Security starts next year. Uh, so that's good. It's on its way. I've got the tracking number sitting there on the shelf. I need to wait for it to arrive, and then that'll be good. And that contributed to the reduced jingling in my pocket. The jingling refers to what I call pocket change anxiety, which is the small anxiety, seemingly small anxiety related to affairs which are in process or under in order, but nonetheless, which seems to persistently trouble me. You know what I mean? It's like you've got something, a plan in action. You've got a midterm exam tomorrow. You've done all the studying that you needed to do. You've prepared all the homework that was assigned. Everything is ready. You're ready for the exam. You had a good dinner, and just now it's up to a night's sleep and rest and ahead of the exam. Nevertheless, you worry and you think about the exam. That's pocket change anxiety, pocket change worry. And I suffer from that as well as much as any human, or let alone probably as much as any human does. We all do, I think, to a greater or lesser degree. It depends on our level of conscientiousness, maybe relative to our responsibilities. But definitely with that in the mail, my pocket change anxiety has reduced a little bit. Uh, Also, the project 2020, sorry, the situation in the United States seems to be uh, in hand, but it's the kind of thing that I know it's not going to remain in hand, um, as so often is the case with good health, especially when we get older and uh, you know, things start to creep. Has a way of getting better and then getting worse again. So I remain ready for that. Although I do have some pocket change anxiety about that. I don't think it's pocket change as much as just realism, right? But it's definitely gone to the back burner for now. Low flame setting could come roaring back. Yesterday, I did have some interesting stuff that really contributed to some of my thoughts throughout the day. I'll just add these in as notes. This is not the main thrust of my endeavor here, though. I was invited before I left the United States. I was an IT project manager, and as such, I was involved in the IT community. I was particularly involved with the public sector IT activities going on in California related to public health, departments of public social services, et cetera, fire departments, things like that. So first responders, service groups. I was an early adopter of artificial intelligence, and I came up with a volunteer art AI class that I called the AI Connection that I delivered for public service groups, fire departments. I did the Fire Chiefs of Association of California and others. It was all volunteer stuff that I did. Anyway, that came back to visit me this week, insofar as one of those, the president of one of the companies, the nonprofit organizations that I delivered this presentation to, invited me to come meet with him yesterday and his team to see the application that they had developed after attending my class. And I'm sure they would have done it on their own, but I guess my class was kind of a catalyst for them. Anyway, I enjoyed an hour-long presentation with the president of the company, one of his engineers in charge of the team, a project manager, and a consultant. And I got to see firsthand how they're using artificial intelligence with their software applications to speed and make more efficient the processing of and the helping and the getting of assistance to homeless individuals, not just in California, but throughout the United States. I was blown away. I really did. I felt a great sense of it was. I returned to me that great sense of fulfillment that comes of being engaged and a part of something that's important, and being working. You know the benefits of working. And I keep coming. I keep saying it over and over again. It keeps coming up that I miss work and I want to get back to work. That that work was good for me, even though it took a lot out of me. And I also noticed that I had fallen behind, but not as far behind as I had thought, because I was suddenly found myself in a Teams meeting in the thrust of just like my old meetings. With people on the screen, some people cameras on, some people camera off, the share screen being shared, watching the demonstration, getting feedback and questions, hearing people go on, and myself going on. And I realized I still got it. I can still do it. It wasn't. I'm not as far behind as I thought, but I am behind. I've gone, for example, from the this big changes happened. If I can speak to AI for a second, it has happened from AI being a chatbot that we would chat at the individuals, a little tool in our back pocket, to becoming a part of the infrastructure. It was the first time in my field that I got. Here comes Ollie. Well, let me sit with Rudy while Ollie contemplates joining us. Or maybe he's not going to come in. I'll leave the door open for a sec. But it was the first time that I had got AI in the 1 year that I've been, almost exactly 1 year that I've been out of the game, has gone from being a back pocket application that we chat at to or to being a part of the infrastructure, a layer in the stack. And I got to see that yesterday, and I realized how much had changed. The world had pushed past and beyond where I had left it behind. I had gone away like in a time machine, and come back and seen the change. And I was thrilled and excited, and it was revitalizing to see be a part of that. So anyway, that group welcomed me back into the fold, and I got an email this morning from the president of the company telling me that he had signed one of his the engineer in the room to be my liaison, and that they would invite me back for further review and feedback on their application in the future. This is just a volunteer consultant role, I think, but boy, does that feel good. And I'm realizing more and more about myself that I don't think that, at least not yet, I'm not a guy who's ready to retire and bask in free time. I just don't think I'm built that way yet. Maybe I can change and, witness the fact that I have a job interview next week for a job which will give me some good employment. And this experience yesterday further encourages me to think that work is something that I still want in my life, gainful or not, at least something that I can wake up and participate in the great project of humanity. And I know we can participate in the great project of humanity without formally doing it as a job, but I kind of like the idea of having a job. So I'm going to approach. So next week I have this job interview exactly, no, 6 days away, And today I'm going to go out with my wife and get uh, a shirt to go with my suit and a nice pair of shoes. And I'll be ready for that interview. What an experience that was yesterday. I really did enjoy that. Plus, I wore the hell out of myself. After that, I spent so much time in the yard, cleaning the yard. And then this little guy and I, we went for a super long strolling in his dog stroller and walk through the city area. And we had a lot of fun together. Yeah, a good boy. All right, as for my creed, it consists of 8 objectives as follows. Number one, to be always ready to die. Number two, to make good and effective use of my time. Three, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Four, to cultivate good emotional reactions. Five, to perform good actions relative to my values. Six, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. Seven, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number eight, to maintain my balance. I'm going to read today the principle number 3 or 4, which is, I think it's 4, the anchor hold. And it looks like Ollie's not coming in. So let me see if I can. I'll put Rudy back. And of course, that'll then cue Ollie to return. Let's see. There we go. The anchor hold, the place where we suffer and die. This is complementary to the preceding principle, the homunculus, which refers to the little man that or little woman that lives within our heads. Anchorhold. There is an inward architecture which we create through the fact and consequence of our decisions and actions, which becomes the scaffolding structure of the inner man or woman who others may dimly see when they look us square in the eyes, perceiving a light or darkness within which shines or empties in proportion to the effort we have made to not just live, but to live well, and in accord with our perceived nature and better inclination. We fail utterly when we build our inner world solely guided by the prescribed blueprint precedent of others, which guidance may suffer to create grand and stately outward living, but may leave us inwardly hollow and empty in the end. When we are alone within our outer world, and we look at what we have and do possess and have made, and we wonder what we may have seemingly missed, and if somehow there may be more. We are so outwardly filled, yet so inwardly empty. Our home, then, the stable and impressive castle of outward success and seemingly worthwhile achievement and acclaim, resting upon an inner foundation of shifting sand. Hmm. It's definitely getting cold. And that inward architecture is the thing that I'm recommending with the anchor hold that we make efforts to make pains to develop to be something more substantial to be found within rather than just what we create on the outside for the purpose of our outer living and the impression that we create upon the world. It's tricky to do, to have that inward architecture where the homunculus, the little man or woman within, can reside in peace. All right, for the next 24 hours, I plan to do some shirt and shoe shopping. So my wife and I will take care of that. But I'll have a lot to do between now and then: radio exercise, walking the dogs, and then maybe a breakfast, and then we'll go from there. All right, Tim. Oops, I still can't see the weather. It's turned to the wrong way. Tim says, "Good morning. Weather check for the UK at 8:33 p.m. is uh, zero point 0.4 C and 74% humidity, sunny, windy, freezing day. Wow, that looks really cold. Wow, right on down there to zero almost. Robert. Hi, Robert. Hi, Kurt. Currently 36 degrees Fahrenheit, much different from the UK. 64% humidity with an air quality of 19 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Air quality's improved. I think it was 24 last time you checked in. Robert says hi to Tim. Tim says hi to Robert. Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Evelyn says hi to myself, Robert, and Tim. Coming in at 6 degrees Celsius and 85% humidity. 9:36 p.m. in Bologna, Italy. So we can see 6 degrees of temperature variation between Italy and roughly 6 degrees, and the UK right now, in the middle area of UK, I believe. Robert says hi to Evelyn. Tim says hi to Evelyn. Michael Littlejohns, hi there. Robert says hi to Michael Littlejohns. Sarah, hi Sarah. Good morning, Kurt, Tim, Robert, Evelyn, Michael. Tim says, I imagine if I retired 5 or 10 years ago, I probably could have returned to work after 2 years or so, but now a lot less so at nearly 3 years as work and accompanying technology is moving so fast. Yeah, I feel that as well. Time it does kind of have it's like stepping off the train and the cars keep passing by, and after a while it gets harder and faster, and I don't know if we can climb back on. I feel that as well. Evelyn says, I am on the same page with you about keeping a foot into the work world in the midst of figuring out this thing called retirement. Yeah, Evelyn, I'm hoping and I'm expecting that eventually I'll get there and I'll be one of those who can, like Tim, enjoy their full retirement in its on its on its own. I kind of That's kind of the the place that I would like to be one day. I just don't know that I'm there yet. I really reminds me of stopping tobacco, which I've tried, which I used to be due to chewing tobacco, and it was so hard to quit. Giving it up and the lingering um, desire to want to have more, right? Even though you know it's bad for you. That's exactly how this desire for work is. But it also has something to do with the sense that I don't know what to do with myself. Maybe that's actually the more honest thing to say, that I don't know what to do with myself in retirement, and I'm worried that I'm I'm going to slip away. Some people don't seem to be that way. I seem to be one of those who is not, at least not yet. Robert says, or Tim says hi to Sarah. Robert says hi to Sarah. Evelyn says, in fact, I'm going to Greece in 10 days before I head back to New York, where I pick up where I left off with my per diem shifts. All right, Greece. Wow. Between the two, Italy and Greece. Lucky. Elvina. Hello, Elvina. Good morning, Kurt, and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Still at work today, so I'll just say hello and talk to you later. Very good. Hello, and good luck to you later, Elvina. Elvina says hi to Evelyn says hi to Sarah and Michael. Robert says hi to Elvina. Sarah says, hi, Tim. I wonder if you have ever thought about doing something, maybe not the same job you retired from, but using your intellect and skills to do something even once or twice a week. I'm going to chime in on Tim's behalf. Now, I haven't met Tim. I don't know Tim personally, but I think I can speak for Tim. And Tim, you'll correct me if I'm way off base. But I kind of think, Sarah, that Tim is one of the lucky ones, if I can use that phrase, who is at peace in retirement. And though they look now at work not like me, who looks at work with longing, kind of missing it, but Tim looks at it kind of like someone who remembers raising their children, maybe, and with fond memories, and also remembering the hard part of it all, but is very pleased with the fact that they're empty nesters, quite fine with the life that they're living now. Thank you very much, and don't necessarily want to go out and start a second family. Uh, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. If that's not you, what I'm trying to basically say is you kind of you remember work and you wonder about it, but I don't think Tim necessarily wants to go back to that, and I think that's I'm envious of that in a way. I kind of wish that I was that way, and I'm hoping that I'll get that way, but I'm not there yet. Evelyn says hello and to Elvina. Tim says, I think I need to change my weather temp to Fahrenheit to match everyone's temps. I think, well, there's a few of us in Fahrenheit, but I think most of us are Celsius. I'm certainly Celsius now. Um, Sarah says, maybe retirement feels too sudden and such a sharp end. There should be an option to do something even one day a week to use your mind and challenge yourself, still feel connected. Yeah, I think that's why I'm working my way back. I think you're right, Sarah. And I think that's why I'm working my way back to getting part time work for just that purpose. Tim says, hi, Sarah. I have thought about some kind of work, thought it through, but to be honest, I've taken up new hobbies, so I think work would kind of get in the way now. LOL. Yeah, I hear you, Tim, and I think you just answered my I think you just answered in the affirmative my attempts to summarize your position through a person perspective. Sarah says, on fair enough, Tim. Create, keep the mind open. You never know what might tap you on the shoulder. Hmm. Tim says, I've just taken up a hobby of fine art restoration. Did a recent online course in restoring an 18th century oil painting. Wonderful! Wow, that's something I would have never imagined. That's a fascinating thing to take up. Tim says, think you summed up nicely, Kurt. LOL. Though it took some time to feel comfortable in retirement. Yeah, I I I think everything of these one of these big transitions, there's a commencement, right? You go through any of the big transitions of life, go from adult childhood to adulthood, graduation into career, single into parenthood, parenthood into empty nest years, and this transition into retirement looks like it's just one of them. And some of us get there, some of you get there faster than others. I'm not there yet. Some people seem to get there right off the bat, and some people seem to maybe never get there, working until the end of their lives, maybe, or some faint attempt at work. All right, everybody. Well, I think I'll stop there. I appreciate everybody dropping by. It's been really nice, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about Greece when you get there, Evelyn. And I hope everybody has a good day. Tim says it's a great change. It does take time, some adjustment. Yeah, you're kind of a senpai to me. Senpai being the one who has gone ahead in Japanese. Tim being a couple of years ahead of me, and I look forward. I always look forward to learning from you along the way, as I do from all of you. And you're chiming in, you're sharing, your own experience with this road, whether you're retired or not, the road of life, right? Uh, and Robert says, thank you, Kurt, and bye all. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Be safe, but not too safe. And remember, tonight I will die in my sleep. Take care.